this review could have been sponsored by NORDISK, but unfortunately it isn't. The reason is because this jacket didn't work as it's supposed to. So today I'm talking about this jacket, the YETI, or now called PAYNE. It's a medium thick jacket, which is really good for a little bit like, you know, ski touring or what have you, you know, going out, and if you're standing, you know, you just put some extra layer over, or like it is now, I just have that as an extra layer over, you know, when I'm going out on a dog sled run. Just got back from a 25-kilometer run with the dogs, first day in 1.5 weeks, because it was so bad weather. So now it works out. But anyway, this jacket, the reason why it's not sponsored by NORDISK is because it is not good. The jacket costs around 300 euros, give or take. I got it after a correspondence with one person at NORDISK for 3.5 months. It took a long time because they didn't ship directly to Sweden. I had to get it shipped to a friend of mine in Germany, and he sent it over, which is a long way to go. And it was the reason was we wanted to see if we maybe do a collaboration, you know, partnership in the long run with gear testing and what have you. You know, that was the main idea. When the jacket arrived, I was quite excited actually. You know, seemed good, you know, looked good and all. The hoodie is a really big thing for me since I quite often use it. However, there's a few things that I have to get into that are problematic. Starting with the hoodie, it's a little bit too tight, so when you wear headphones like I do quite often, or if you wear a helmet, it's not helmet compatible, so that's a no-go for people who are going skiing and whatnot, you know, or it's more problematic, you know, that's pretty much what it is. But other things are much more important. So I got the jacket. It's a 700 plus queen 90-to-10 ratio down jacket, which on paper looks really good. It's crystal down, supposed to be really good, you know, in terms of lightweight and insulation level. The insulation level, quite honestly, I can't really judge because you know, I wear so many layers. It doesn't really matter to me, like if one jacket has a little bit more value than the other one. At least in that price range, it doesn't really matter, quite honestly. But what you shouldn't see is down loss. If a down gets out of the fabric, you have a problem, because you lose down value, you know, that's one thing, and insulation value with it. For a high-priced jacket like this, that's an absolute no-go. It shouldn't happen. If it happens once, okay, you know, over the years or whatnot, but for a jacket that is brand new like this, shouldn't happen, and that's really bad. Well, the next thing that happened was stitching opening up. Here are two seams that are totally ripped out because I got hooked in a branch, you know. The material, you know, if for example, if I'm dealing with the dogs, I have one jacket that is totally destroyed down jacket because the dogs are going with the claws, you know, and then just, you know, ripping the material. The stitching usually is never the problem. The material itself, well, the material is still intact, but the stitching is gone. And that's a problem, you know, because now those down pockets are open and the down just basically moves down. So it loses its insulation value, and that is a problem. I have several other spots where the stitching starts to go, you know, it's like either it's rubbing on other material, which it quite often does. Here the Y logo, for example, has this kind of issue. But regardless of that, you know, it just doesn't hold up the way it should, you know. Sizing, that's debatable, you know. In this case, it's a size large. It could have been a little bit more spacious. It's a bit tight, but that's just a question of preference, basically. For me, this jacket, you know, it climbs up here. It's a little bit tight here, and that in the counterpoint causes to lose its insulation value there by pressing the down together, and then when you release, you know, when you're standing normal again, then the the air can come back in, you know. So that's a little bit of an issue, but I mean that is just the sizing problem in my case, you know. So it shouldn't. It's just a question of finding the right size. Otherwise, the zipper here works actually quite good. I don't like the little. It's YKK zippers, which is kind of common in this kind of price range, but the little extra thingy here is out of metal. Preferably it should be out of synthetic material, you know, because and a little bit longer, so you can, like with fat gloves, you know, you can easier grab it, you know. But that's just a minor detail. The more important thing is the stitching doesn't hold up. The jacket is made in Vietnam, which I didn't know beforehand. If so, I probably would have not chosen it, because I try to go a little bit more like, you know, to companies that are actually producing their stuff in Europe. At least their high value stuff, you know. And for a jacket that costs 300 euros, that is in the high value category. So it should be made accordingly, basically. So yeah, so that is my take. Otherwise, you know, the usual thing, you have two inner pockets with a lot of stuff written on it. Not necessarily, it just rubs down, you know, it just wasted material. It's not necessary, really. You can just leave that out, you know, keep it blank and have that in the description or whatever, you know. So it's not really necessary, since it wears out, you know. So it's just printed on, you know, so it just wears out anyway. Two pockets, it's good to have, but they're a little bit low. Also, the pocket here is a little bit far back, and what's funny is no inner fleece material or anything, which is kind of common for, in particular, Nordic companies. I had that now with two other down jackets that I have. You always have a fleece liner in there, because if you go in there, it feels nice and warm. Here, if I'm going in, it directly feels cold, because you directly have the synthetic fabric on you. It's just a minor detail, but for cold weather conditions, it is a pretty big deal. And for this value, for the money that you have to spend, this is definitely not worth it. So don't buy it. Yeah, that's my review. Have a good one. Now I start taking out the dogs, you know, take them back to their homes, and gonna feed them later on.